Girls Talk Shirts. Hey, everyone.
I cannot not like sing the song and then not do the little head tilt
it's only appropriate to do it.
Yeah.
Well, the problem also is when we used to do it, we were on camera, so
Yes.
people could see us do it. Now it just is
Now
funny because we just look at each other doing it. And we have to still like figure out which side to go to, even though nobody can actually.
I mean,
see
I was
us.
like making eye contact. Like, is she gonna go this way too? All right. Well, hello everybody.
Welcome to the second episode of Girls Talk Shirts. And this one is entitled Girls Talk College or just life.
What?
After high school. So we came across one of our old Girls Talk Shirts videos on Facebook where we talked about kind of our goals and like what our plan was for after high school. We still continue to video Girls Talk Shirts after that, which are still on Facebook, and you'll see we did not land all of those plans that we had thought. But one of these videos that was prior to that, before we graduated high school, we talked about what it was that we wanted to do after high school.
Yeah.
So I guess you just want to...
Yeah, you want to just dive right in? You can go first this week and just kind of tell us what plans did Savannah have for after high school?
Yeah, so after high school, my intention was to, for anybody who doesn't know, school was not super easy for me. It was more of a social thing for me, so I didn't make super amazing grades to like get me into some big fancy college. And so my plan was to go to Daytona State College, which Daytona back in the day was like my favorite place because I hadn't gone anywhere else that was super exciting. So Daytona
No offense, Daytona.
Daytona was always one of my favorite places. And when I found out, obviously, they had a college, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Me and a friend from high school, we were going to go together. We were going to cheer. We were going to do all the things and
go to the beach every day.
Oh, yeah. Every day. We had all these plans. And back then, I don't know if it still works like this, but Daytona State kind of feeds into UCF, kind of the way that Polk State feeds into USF in some areas. I don't know if that's still the case, but that was my plan, was I was going to do a little bit at Daytona State and then eventually go to UCF. So that was the plan. At that point, I didn't really have a idea of like what major I wanted to do, what career I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to be by the beach, and that's what I wanted to do. Well, that didn't end up happening. I did get accepted to Daytona State, which, I mean, it's like Polk State most get accepted. But I was going to try out for the team. I was already in contact with the coach and everything. But just some criminal activity took place around the school, and actually one of the financial aid people ended up telling my friend's mom and my mom, like, hey, like, this really isn't a place for like two 18-year-olds like who don't live here to just come for the first time and like go to school here. Like, it's not the place. So needless to say, our parents were like, no, like, you're not going. So I ended up going to Polk State. Fast forward, I went there for like 2 years, and I ended up getting put on academic suspension. So I had to go through an advisor to get put in my classes, do all the things, which wasn't one of my, brightest times of my life, but it's fine. And then I still didn't do well, and they ended up, basically, you get put on like academic expulsion for like a semester, so you have to take a semester off. And I didn't want to do that, so I ended up going to like a vocational school and doing a medical assistant program, which was good. It got me into the medical field. And yeah, so I did that. I became a medical assistant for a little bit, and I started, the passion for nursing really stemmed when I was in high school, but teachers kind of looked down on me and they were like, you're not cut out for like a nursing program. So I knew I wanted to be in the medical field, but I was like, nursing obviously is not something that I'm cut out for. And so I got into the medical field, and then I just really decided I wanted to do nursing. So I did kind of all the things you have to do to get into a nursing program. There's like a TEAS test you have to take. There's obviously prerequisites you have to take. And I did all the things. I got accepted to a couple different schools that you can get accepted into while you're taking your prerequisites. Then life happened, and I ended up just stopping doing school altogether. I was working at a doctor's office, and then I ended up moving to working at the hospital, just kind of as a CNA type situation. And I did that for a little bit until I met my wonderful hubby, and he was super, super encouraging and supportive of finding a way to get me into nursing school. Like, one of mine and Aaron's first dates, he asked me, what are your goals in life, like career-wise? And, I mentioned I would eventually like to go to nursing school if it pans out. And, he was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's find a way. Like, is there a school you want to go to? Like, is there something specific that you want to do? And I just told him, like, I started taking prereqs at this school. I can continue doing them at this school, and then I can go to this school for nursing program. And that's what we did. I got back in when Graceland was 3 months old. That's when I went back, finished prerequisites, and that school had a 2-year waiting list. So that was like unfortunate because that was the school I wanted to go to, but I was like, I cannot wait 2 years to start a program. Like, in 2 years, I want to be already working as a nurse. Yeah. And so I finished the prereqs. I got accepted to a couple of schools, and then I looked into accelerated program, and I eventually got into that, and I was done in like 13 months, which it was awful. It was so hard because it was so fast, like, because it's a 2-year degree that you're getting in, 13, 15 months, around that range. And it was during COVID. So it was a lot of virtual stuff, which people think that made it easier. It actually made it so much harder. But doing that, planning a wedding, having a tiny human, it all happened during nursing school. And then I finally graduated, and now I've been a nurse for almost 2 years. And yeah, it was a long road. It wasn't the road I intended, but it worked out in the end, I guess. But
hey, I'm proud. I mean, I can't believe you got back into school having a 3-month-old. Like, that is insane to me. So, congratulations, Savannah.
Yeah.
Should we do an applause sound or? I mean, we have it right there. Might as well do it.
Might as well. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it takes a village when you have kids.
Yeah.
And our village came through like no other. Like, our parents played such a huge role in keeping Graceland for us if Aaron was working, or just helping us if I just needed a day to study. It's like, okay, they would take her. I was still working through nursing school, and I think it was only my last semester that I didn't work at all. But up until that last semester, I worked full time, and then I went part time, and then I ended up just leaving. But I mean, we were having them help us when it came to school, but then also when it came to work. And I was working nights, so they had to keep her overnight. And it was a lot, but I am proud of how we all came through, and they're still coming through for us. I mean, Aaron and I still have crazy schedules, so they still keep her randomly. She's with grandma right now because Aaron and I both work tomorrow, so she got to spend the night with grandma. But I mean, it takes a village, and it would absolutely not been possible without all of them. I mean, obviously it wouldn't have even started if it wasn't for Aaron just being encouraging and supportive. But, you know, with his schedule, there's no way we could have done it without having them. So that made it slightly easier. It was still hard, but.
Was there any time while, I mean, that was, how many years, like, after high school, like, was it when you finally did graduate? Like 8 years?
Yeah, so I graduated high school in 2011. I graduated nursing school in 2022. April of 2022 is when I graduated. Well, that's when I passed NCLEX. I graduated March of 2022.
Okay, so 11 years. Was there any time, like you did talk about how you did stop school for a little bit, but was there any time in there when you just wanted to just like quit all of it and just not even think about it again, to just work at the hospital or wherever and just live your life like that?
I was pretty much in that mindset. You know, when I got the job at the hospital, prior to that, I was working in a doctor's office, and, you know, it was fine. It was just that typical weekday job. I enjoyed it. It was fine. But I knew I wanted to go to the hospital to just see if the medical field was really what I wanted to do. And that schedule just wasn't going to work for the relationship I was in at that time.
Yeah.
And so I never went for it, because the doctor's office I worked at was through the same hospital. So like I could see when jobs popped up all the time, and I always thought about it. And then it wasn't a schedule that was going to work. So when I got out of that relationship, that was the first thing I wanted to do was, you know, I wanted to try to get a different pace job. Like I wanted to just have a whole different perspective of the medical field, and there was nothing holding me back at that point. So I just went for it, and I applied for like 3 different floors at the hospital, and one of them I interviewed and never heard anything. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Then I had an interview in the trauma ICU where I worked, and I fell in love with it, and the manager seemed to really like me. And so once I started working there, I was content. I was like, I don't need nursing school. Like, I'm good with this. But the more you work around the nurses, the more like, you know, like you couldn't help in certain ways because you're not a nurse. Yeah. And, you know, it was just something that, you know, I wanted to do, but I was perfectly content just being a tech, you know, figuring out life in terms of, you know, I had a lot of debt by myself right then. So my main goal was just to pay down my debt, to be able to live on my own again. And I thought, you know, I don't need to go back to school. I don't have the means to go back to school.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something that I really cared about. And I didn't think I could make it through school anyways. And nothing had pointed me in that direction of school of like, that's where I should be right now. So I never thought anything of it.
Yeah.
But during nursing school, it tested me and Aaron a lot, because I would be really stressed out, and I'm somebody, it's a poor trait of mine, but I will, like, if I'm frustrated with something, if you're just around me, like, you're going to get the wrath of it.
Yeah.
And poor Aaron, bless his heart, he had to deal with me being up late nights studying, and then the next day I'd be grumpy because I didn't sleep because I was up all night. And so there was a lot of times that, you know, I thought, you know, maybe this wasn't worth it. And I did actually fail a class during nursing school. And I had a meltdown. I'm like, I am not cut out for this, like, at all. And it put me, behind a semester than my friends. So, like, I couldn't study with my friends anymore because we weren't in the same class anymore, which they still got me through. Like, one of them, Lauren, her and I, we still stay in touch, and she graduated a semester before me, but like, she still studied with me. And when it came to NCLEX, like, she still helped me, and we got each other through. But it was just, it put me in such a bad mental place, in the sense of, I was like, if I can't pass this class, like, that wasn't even the hardest class you were supposed to go through in nursing. So I'm like, if I can't even pass this, and it was a mental health class, and I'm like, of course, it's the mental health class. And I was like, there's no way that I can, pass the harder classes if I can't even pass this one. But yeah, there was a lot of instances where I know I thought, like, maybe this isn't worth it. And, there was times that I felt like I wasn't being a good mom because I was constantly going to drop off Graceland when I had to do school, or drop her off when I had to go to work, or drop her off when I just needed a day to study. I didn't even have a class. And I was like, oh, I can study with her. Like, I don't need to go drop her off. And then it's like, no, you can't. Like, you can't study, because she was obviously older by now. And like, she has to be occupied every 45 seconds. And so there was a lot of times that I just felt like I was failing as a mom, because she would just be so clinged on to other people, and she wouldn't want to be with me. Like, she wanted to be with Gigi. She wanted to be with grandma. She wanted to be with daddy. And when I was around, she didn't want to be with me. And it's like, oh, well, now my kid doesn't even want me. So it's like, is this even worth it? Like, I'm trying to show her, like, if you push through, like, you can get whatever you want. And I can't even show her that, because she doesn't even want to be with me. And so there was a lot of hard mental days when it came to stuff like that. But it was all worth it in the end.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Oh, thanks.
And thank you so much for sharing with the class.
Yeah.
I guess I can go now.
Yeah.
I did not have plans of college after high school. I did fine in school. Like, it wasn't like a difficult thing for me, like how you described. But I didn't like doing it, and I definitely did not want to go on to something harder like college. And there wasn't anything out there for me that I was like, oh, I really want to do this, but in order to do that, I need to get this certain degree or whatever to do it. And I went to a high school here in our town called Polk State Collegiate High School, which is kind of like a dual enrollment type of thing, but it's its own like school. And like usually with dual enrollment, you still do it at your regular high school, and you can only do like certain classes. But with collegiate high school, it is its own school at our local state college, and you can do all of your high school / college requirements there. So I actually graduated high school with my AA degree, which is just like your first 2 years of college out of the way. And I was like, that's enough. That's all of the college that I need. I do not need anything else. I feel accomplished having this. None of my other friends so far have this, so I'm one step ahead.
There you go.
Of everybody else. And I would rub it in everybody's faces. She did. I'm sure I was so freaking annoying with how much I said, well, I've got my AA degree, like
if she answered a question right, I'm like, well,
I've got my AA degree, so give me a question that I can't answer type of thing. And I had literally no aspirations to go farther with my college career. I was done. And I have always, I grew up in the church, and I always felt like I could do something in the church. And so at this time in my life. There were people that I trusted at the time that were running a church in Texas. And so they reached out to me, and long story short, they asked me to come out and kind of be like a guinea pig for them, in the sense of like they really wanted to start like an internship program type of thing there. And they wanted me to kind of be the first one to try it out, see how it could go. Maybe there could be some like random little college courses here and there, like a biblical college type of thing. But pretty much just like be helping around like in like the youth group and whatever in the church. And so that was my plan. Signed on to do that, was going to move out there. And then a week before I was supposed to drive out there, got a call saying, hey, actually, you can't do this. We're not prepared for you to come out here. And that's a whole nother story that maybe like we can have some sort of episode about, I don't know, maybe church or being hurt by church people. Because I feel like that's probably a big thing that a lot of people could resonate with. But yeah, so that didn't work out. And I was completely blindsided by it. I had zero backup plan because I didn't know that needing a backup plan was something that was required. I never in my wildest dreams did I think, this might not work out. Nobody really kind of led on to me how unequipped they really were for me to arrive.
Well, they had done kind of the same idea with people before that. So I think it was.
Yeah. So, yeah. But I was not in the loop at all about it. So I didn't know that I should have been maybe looking at maybe possibly doing something else. So I did not. And that happened, and I was not okay. This was the first time in my life when I didn't know what I was going to do next. Like, I mean, you're in school from like 5 years old till you're 18. So I had a schedule for 13 years of my life, and now for the first time, I'm kind of trying to go off and do something on my own. And life was like, psych, you're not going to be able to do that. And I didn't have anything, and I was embarrassed. I didn't want to tell anybody because everybody knew, like at church, which was like the main place that I was, you know, everybody there knew that I was supposed to be leaving. And then it was just kind of this thing of like, for months, I had people saying, hey, weren't you supposed to move? Like, why are you still here type of thing? And so it was just kind of like this, oh, actually, that didn't work out. Yeah, I didn't want to go to school. Like I didn't want to do anything at school. And it was just kind of like, well, what am I supposed to go to school for? Like, there's nothing else I want to do. In my core, I always knew that I wanted to be a mom and a wife. And so I think like subconsciously I knew like, I don't need, that's what I want to do. If I can just eventually find a husband, then I wouldn't need any sort of degree from anywhere, because you don't need a degree to do those things, you know? And I was just, I don't want to go to school just to go to school. Like I wouldn't even know what classes to sign up for. Like what, like, why would I spend money on, like, it didn't make any sense to me. And so I went the route of depression. My first time really experiencing it. And I'll say 10 out of 10 do not recommend. And yeah, so I had like odd jobs. Well, really, I had one odd job at Kohl's for 3 days. Sorry, Kohl's, but that was the worst experience I've ever had. And then I eventually got my job that I had at the state attorney's office in Bartow. And from there, I eventually connected with my husband. And then that's another path we can go down on another episode. Cause that can just, I mean, that's now 10 years worth of information, but yeah. So, life after high school was not fun for me for a while. And I didn't, the depression that I experienced, definitely meeting my husband and falling in love with him definitely helped. Like if it wasn't for him, meeting him when I did, I don't know where I would be, honestly. And maybe we can talk about depression in another episode, because I feel like I could definitely dive into that as well. But yeah, life after high school is actually really hard, and nobody prepared me for what could possibly happen. I think even if you and I had maybe more successful type of like college experiences, like the regular like 4-year thing, I think that is still hard too. Mm-hmm. I know plenty of people that did that in like the right allotted amount of time, and they still had a rough experience. And it really is like you become an adult for the first time, and you have to actually start taking responsibility for your actions.
Right.
And yeah, I was still very much a kid and did not want responsibility. And yeah, nobody told me how difficult life was going to be. Yeah, like I've always been a very independent person. And so I had always carried myself in that way. But then when it actually came time to like truly be independent, it was like, well, holy smokes, this is
right
hard. And I don't want to do it anymore. Like, please, can I be a kid again? And there are plenty of times still when I'm just like, dang, being a kid is so much easier than being an adult. But yeah.
I mean, I always think about like our group of friends that we had, like in the church, there was a good amount of us, but there's only a few that actually like did exactly what they had envisioned to go to school to get a certain career. They did the school. Now they're in that career. I can think of several of them that are not doing what they intended to be doing. Some are doing more than what they could have ever thought for themselves, and some are doing what I would have never thought they would be doing. Yeah. But it's so crazy to think, you could make all these plans, but I always go back to that quote that's like, if you want to make God laugh, like tell him your plans. Yeah. Because, he's got the ultimate plan. And I can tell you my life is a walking testimony of that, because things have not turned out the way that I envisioned them to. However, I would go through everything I've gone through to get to where I am right now. Like, do I wish I would have done college better at first? Like, yeah, I do. But every step, every mistake, every good thing in life pinpointed the exact trajectory of my life. And, maybe if that would have happened, I would have never met Aaron. Yeah. And so, it just happens the way it happens.
I agree. And like you said, it didn't go the way that either one of us had originated and the way that we planned. But the thing that I always fall back on is that, like, even though it wasn't what we planned, God was with the both of us the entire time. Maybe we didn't feel him the entire time, because there was definitely a lot of low points for me when I was like, I could kill myself type of thoughts, which again, don't need to get into, especially because we're nearing that 30-minute mark. But yeah, definitely looking back, it's like, dang, like God was there with me in that I'm not going to cry. That's for sure. But he was sitting in that pain with me. He was sitting in that hurt with me. And
got you through it.
I just need to blink a couple times. But yeah, he got me through it. And you know what? Also, not to get sappy again, but he got me through it. He got you through it, and we got to go through it together. Mm-hmm. You and I, like you said, we had several friends from our church group. But you and I have always really kind of stayed there together, and I really appreciate that. And I, again, am so happy that we get to be sitting here doing this podcast together.
Absolutely.
Sharing our life story.
Yeah. You've always been that constant, no matter how far away you've been or what's happened in life. You've always just been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. And I'm happy to, I hope it's like this for the rest of our lives.
Oh yeah. Well, now we have kids who adore each other, so we can't really split them apart. So.
And I could never do that to them.
All right. Well, we are going to wrap up this second episode of Girls Talk Shirts. And I think the next one it's going to be relationships. So I think we'll talk a little bit about our love. Yeah. The love life. Loss. Yeah. Yeah. All the things.
You might have more to talk about than I do, but it's all good.
It's all good. Anyway, so thanks for listening. Oh,
we
a
didn't
shirt.
Talk about a shirt, Savannah.
We'll make it quick. I'm wearing a Bucks jersey.
There is a Bucks
playoff game
today.
It's starting literally right as I'm saying this. It started at 3:00. Yeah. So go Bucks. They're probably gonna lose.
Are jerseys comfortable?
Absolutely not. If you have something underneath it, it's the material that gets on my skin. I don't like the feeling of it, so I have to wear a tank top underneath it because I don't like
there's
it.
Something about, I don't think I've ever owned, my husband's not a sports guy, so therefore I am not a sports person. So I've never owned a jersey of any kind, but it just doesn't seem like something that I would actually want to wear.
They're not very comfortable.
I'd rather just wear a comfortable t-shirt, like a cotton t-shirt. Cotton.
Well, also the jersey,
if you're listening, sponsor us.
Also, the jersey I have on is 20 years old, so it's a Rondé Barber. Shout out to Rondé Barber. He made the Hall of Fame this year.
I have no idea who that is.
He's a Bucks player.
Rondé
Barber. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
His name is Rondé.
Mm-hmm. Rondé. Rondea. Maybe? I don't know. Anyways.
If you're listening, Rondé.
If you guys are still listening to our podcast
I promise we're ending it right now.
Right now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Girls Talk Shirts. Please tune in again. I promise we are slowly getting better at this thing. Mm-hmm. Okay? I think we did a lot better with cameras in front of us because we could be a little bit more goofy. We could move around a little bit and entertain you with our faces. Mm-hmm. And now you've just got our voices.
Yeah. And I'm nervous to touch anything.
I know. I don't want to make any sound. I'm holding in I don't even know if I have to cough, but my throat is telling me you might need to cough. Why don't you give it a try? So yes. Okay.
All right.
Thank you guys.
I was going to say we'll see you at the next one, but we won't see you.
We won't see you.
We'll talk to you in the next one.
We'll hear you next time. All right. Bye.
Bye.